Þorbjörnsson. Valbert skorar. Valbert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergjesson og skoðaðar. Glæsilega. Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og það aftur Ingvarsson.
Hello and welcome back to the best of pod
ever.
God, forever, one might say. welcome. We're recording on a Monday, which means we're hot off the presses, sort of a weekend of games. Isn't that right?
It's true. These summer schedules are always very funky. So now we have another game coming up on Thursday before going on holiday for 2 weeks almost because of the international break.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we would hit you with something short and sweet before the next round.
Amen. Let's dive right into the results, after which we can discuss them. At the end of last episode, I threw some vibes out into the universe. Let's see if any of those helped. So the games, as they happened, KR Fram walk away there victorious 3-2. KA beat Afturelding 1-0. Valur beat IPVF 3-0. Víkingur beat IA 2-1. Vestri beat Stjarnan 3-1. And FH beat Breiðablik 2-0. That is a home win in every single game except the KR Fram game.
I didn't notice that.
Which is interesting. Maybe we'll start with the one that immediately pops out at me. KA Afturelding. This is where we put a little question mark as to what was going to happen, whether Afturelding would continue their terrible away form, or whether KA's general not gratitude would be anti-victorious. And I guess the poor away form was king.
Yeah, KA are doing exactly what we called on IA to do. They're keeping it very tight at the back, albeit against a pretty blunt IPVF and Afturelding side. But, this is what they needed to do in the last 2 games. They haven't conceded any goals, gotten 4 points. That's not super glamorous, but it's better than what IA is doing, I guess. The worrying thing is it's quite hard to see where the goals are coming from, if not from these screamers from Hallgrímur. 2 very boring games, I can say. I think it's fair to say, in a row against teams they should be expected to beat any other year. So yeah, it's better than IA, but it's a pretty low bar.
It is. Those 2 teams, of course, still in the bottom 2 positions. IA in 12th, KA in 11th. Equal on points, though, with IPVF, who lost 3-0 to Valur. I mean, I guess nothing... no big upset there. Valur beating IPVF 3-0, right?
No, but the worrying thing is that now we've heard that Omar So and is out for the season most likely, and Oliver Heiðarsson will be out for a few weeks, and that is not good.
Not when you're sitting in 10th place on 8 points. Not great.
No, and I mean, those 2 have been the main outlet for most of their goals so far, if they've come through or directly from these 2. So now, Thorlaugur needs to rethink this team completely, potentially, unless he has a plan B. This is quite worrying for IPVF, and they started off the season pretty brightly, but I'm quite worried for them now. I'm not sure if they can withstand this loss.
No, I guess it's going to be an interesting race to the bottom there to see who's going to go down. We talked about it last week, our listener poll. I don't know if that's changed at all in the little bit of extra time that people got to vote, but those were sort of the big teams, weren't they? That people mentioned, IA, KA, IPVF, with a dash of Afturelding. that seems likelier. I mean, you look at the table. There's E on 6, Kawa IPVF on 8. Then you have 4 teams on 10, and then you have the upper echelons of 12 points plus. But it really doesn't seem like there's any other teams in this running than IA, Kawa, IPVF, Afturelding, Stjarnan at a real push, right?
Yeah, I mean, Stjarnan did not look that second half against Vestri. They did not look good. Vestri, you have to commend Vestri from getting back some disappointing results in the last few weeks. I mean, on their level, I guess, if you take the Vestri season so far, I think some people, like we called it last week, that they were imploded and the Vestri bubble had burst. But so it's a really important comeback to go down and beat Stjarnan like that. But also, I don't think Stjarnan looked very good in that second half. I remember the commentator after the game was finishing, the commentator was saying, look at the stats. They look, it's pretty even between the two teams. But then you saw that Stjarnan had, I think, 1 shot on target, and that was their goal in the, 7th minute or something. Not that Vestri was, peppering the goal with shots, but yeah, they scored in the 6th minute, and I don't think they had a shot on good target after that. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going down, but I think they look quite bad at the moment.
Speaking of shots on or not on target, Kawa Fram. God, that was a difficult game to watch. The second half, it was absurd how one-sided it was, the whole affair. I didn't feel Fram really had much to give or to offer in any real capacity. I mean, yeah, they were in the driver's seat, 3-1. So maybe they sort of took their foot off the gas a little bit. But as a Coward supporter, it was a difficult game to watch.
Yeah, all those shots against the post, and to be fair, Victor Freyr in the goal was incredible. Some of the saves he was pulling off was just insane. There was one from Joey, I think, or something, where he just it was headed to the top corner and he just scooped it out.
Yeah, there was some great saves for sure, but it really did feel like Coward should have clawed their way back, maybe, but it was just little margins. Coward realistically should have had 2 red cards, if we're being real in a certain sense. Finnur obviously getting his red there. They should have had 2 fully equivalent red cards. A yellow for talking back, and then a red for a foul.
Yeah.
In the case of Finnur, this represents something that I absolutely hate about football and the state of it. And in the other case, I think it was Johannes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he should have gotten the red. So first yellow for talking to the ref, whatever, and then he comes in late for a tackle. His studs are up, his leg is high. I think it's a nice yellow card. He should have been sent off. Finnur, on the other hand, it's who? Gummimak or something for Fram,
I think so.
Finnur jumps up and he backs into him and does this classic Harry Kane special to flip him, which in other sports is considered a very serious offense, including rugby, American football. I think it's absolutely unacceptable. I think he should have gotten a straight red multi-game ban for something like this. I think you can't do this. It's so dangerous. I'm going to go on record, say this. It's absolutely insane. I don't think he got a yellow for it.
No, I don't think so.
Ridiculous, horrible refereeing. If you're listening, referee, horrible refereeing. You should be ashamed. And then Finnur reacts to this and pushes him a little bit, which, if you want to sanitize everything out of the sport, then don't have emotions, right? But a man does this to you, tries to seriously injure you on purpose, and you get a little bit heated and you push him. You're a grown man. Just take the push, walk away. It's fine. Nothing else happened. You don't need to give bookings for something like this. And it's so stupid to give a booking for the little thing that seems improper in behavior, rather than the horrendously dangerous play that was done just seconds before. All you care about is decorum there. You don't care at all about the safety of the players. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's some of the worst refereeing I've seen. And this is something that needs to change. You see it across the board, though, in football. It's not just in Iceland. It's in every country. This sort of stupid, lawful neutral bullshit. I hate it. I think it's so dumb.
Yeah, you could they were talking about it after, when they were reviewing the game afterwards, and the commentators and saying, like, oh, Gume, it's just catching him on the way down. But like, there's a reason why
no.
There's a reason why he's catching him on the way down. It's because he very much bends over and lets him fall like that. And I think when you do that, you're aware that the guy is going to come down like that. So I think it was, you did catch him, yes, but I think you did catch. Yeah, exactly, on purpose. So yeah.
If you really want to be that guy and send him off give him a yellow for pushing him for doing something, fine. Then give the other guy a straight red, because you cannot be doing this. Like, if it's a coward player doing this, I want him sent off as well, and multi-game ban. I hate seeing this. I don't know why this is allowed to go on in football. It's insane.
I think this might be one of those things where we need this change only happens after a high-profile injury.
Yeah, I mean,
which would be like absolutely, because a high-profile injury from this sort of fall could be like,
it's a neck break or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not exactly. It's not something I hope will ever happen, but you sort of fear that that's the only way people would take this seriously. But I agree with you. I think we talked about this before, that spitting and punching in a certain way is considered much worse than high foot tackles and other kinds of punches. Like, it's all very...
Yeah, it's very decorum based rather than safety based. I mean, I get it. Spitting is pretty gross and disrespectful.
No,
and
it's not a nice thing to do.
Sort of, it's not a nice thing to do at all. It's definitely, I mean, a red card is fine, absolutely, but like, there needs to be more severe bookings for the stuff that is dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I would rather see a yellow card for a spitting than no card for a studs up 2-footed tackle that just misses the knee. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. It's always this results-based refereeing as well, though, where like, if he had broken his neck, he would have given a red card.
Yeah,
but he didn't. So he didn't. This pisses me off. I hate this. But anyway, speaking of other things.
I think we should call out, just quickly call out Jakob Bustrom, the new player at Fram, who scored 2 goals on his debut there for Fram. 2 really good goals that they scored there. Just to give them a little bit of credit. I
mean, absolutely. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of spoiler, the fact that you're giving him props now rather than in a certain later segment.
Perhaps, but I think it's nice to not to gloss over them. They were under the cosh in the second half for sure, but they had a pretty good first half and then defended well in the second.
Absolutely. I mean, they ground out a victory there, which is perfectly acceptable. They did the job. They were good. But it was the sort of football in the second half, maybe, I don't know, was it sort of football that you want from the lower level teams, where you can absorb a bit of pressure without caving? I don't know whether that was really From's game plan in the second half, though, to sit back and absorb the pressure, but it was what they were kind of forced to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think if Fram are in a little bit of having a little bit of a... It's kind of hard to place them this season, and maybe the hardest team to place, because they're having a pretty okay season. They're alongside Coward, right?
Yeah, they are. They're 2 points ahead of Coward.
Yeah, on the same points as Valur. So they're having a pretty good season. It's just like they lose 2 games in a row against maybe teams they should have done better against, and but they're having a pretty decent season. Quiet. Maybe they're just being a bit more quiet than every other team. But they're doing things nice and slow, and hopefully for them, when they get some people back from injuries, they can get some more. You can get even better, and then that's a bit scary.
Yeah, I mean, they are the sort of team, and they were kind of like this last season as well, where they could creep up, and like you could see them ending in a pretty decent spot in the table if things go correctly. They don't always go correctly, but you can see a world where that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think they lacked a little bit of consistency towards the end, where they sort of fell off. And then I mean, after the split, I think it's really hard to judge teams after the split, when you're not going to get relegated and maybe don't care as much about the President's Cup as other teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they had a decent chance of ending up in the top 6, but we'll see.
We will see. Maybe the final funky fresh thing to talk about is a nice bit of journalism that you picked up, if you want to go over that.
Yeah, It's just I was reading this article about a narrative this season has been that FO and IPVAF's grass pitches have been quite terrible, and it's hard to play there. And every time a team goes to either Kaplakriki or Vestmannaeyjar, they get asked questions of, are you going to change your style of play and yada yada. And then if they lose points, it's was it the game, was it the pitch, and there were questions like that. Höskuldur, I think the Breiðablik captain, got the same question, and he said, oh, it's nothing to do with the pitch. It was nice and wet and good. It was just we didn't play well, and we allowed them to do 2 crosses, which you should never do for FO. You should never allow them to cross the ball into the box. But then there was Dore, the Breiðablik manager, got asked the same question, and he basically says, like, yeah, you can make a headline out of this and call it complaining, but and then that it's it is a bit harder and slower to play on these uneven grass pitches that haven't been mowed exactly or taken care of as well as the AstroTurf. But it's it's just a part of this. We got to change our way of playing and be more direct. There's another game against IA on AstroTurf. So we keep going, and the headline is, Halldór says it's harder and slower to play on uneven grass.
And this is also the final paragraph, basically, in like a long an article that's like at least 6-7 paragraphs long. He's talking about all sorts of, talking about the actual performance of the team and everything. And then this is just right at the very end, and they're like, "Aha!" I wonder whether they did this out of the the shitty journalism of it all. We're like, yeah, this will get clicks, or whether they did it specifically because it was funny that they're like, let's do this because he said it.
Or it's like they just fed his interview into AI, and it's just like it said literally, you can call this a headline, and they were just like, okay.
I will call it a headline. Anyway, if we want to move on to the 3 stars, the players of the round, I guess we start with Hallgrímur Mar scoring against Afturelding to secure them the win there, and I guess he's going to have to keep doing things like that if Kawa want to survive, which they may or may not.
Well, they definitely want to. That's whether they will.
No, we don't want to.
But there was just final on him and Kawa. There was all the interviews about this game from the manager and from journalists and everything has been about, like, he had a great game and he could have assisted 3 goals if the people at the end of those passes were better.
Ugh.
So slight dig at some of the players there, but yeah, a very good game. Another player who had a very good game and did assist was Valdimar Þór. Technically 1.5 assists, but basically he created 2 identical goals for Víkingur against IA. There was very clearly a game plan of him doing those crosses to the back post, and it worked. Worked twice. One of them was just he passed it to the back post, and I think there was a pass before the goal, but he very much created this goal, and he's just continues to be a huge threat in this Víkingur team. Big reason why they've been able to weather the storm in this terrible season they're having at the top of the table.
I don't think we actually spoke about them at all this episode, which I guess is very sort of un-football journalism of us to not talk about the team in first place. Normally that's 90% of the talk, right? But they're just going to have to get used to it. We prefer bottom of the table, mid-table, and quite frankly, Víkingur are having a dreadful season, first place there. Why even talk about them?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think they're suffering as well from just the pure insanity of this league, that everyone is beating everyone. You had FO, who were in and around relegation spot, beating the champions. You have, Vestri being where they are, all this sort of stuff. You have Afturelding being insane at home. You have Kaur being insane every day. It's just like, it's kind of hard to talk about a Víkingur side who just kind of wins boringly.
Yeah.
I guess they're fine.
Yeah, let's not waste any more airtime on them. For the 3rd star, we're uncertain. Maybe that could be the listener question, or do we have more fun listener questions? Anyway, 3 players there that we can discuss. We have Daði Berg for Vestri, we have Kjartan Kári for FO, and then we have Jakob Byström for Ram.
Yeah, I mean, it's super easy to give it to any one of those 3. Daði Berg maybe didn't have the best game in his life, but then he still scored two goals and did the comeback against Stjarnan with two nice finishes. Kjartan Kári, the only reason maybe he isn't getting an automatic one after a really good game against the champions is that he got one like last week, so it feels we tend not to give two in a row. And then Jakob Byström is 2 goals on a debut. It's a pretty good way to start your Fram career.
Yeah, I would, if I had to vote, I'd probably give it to Jakob just because it is the debut thing kind of tips it.
Yeah, then that's decided. Sorry, Kjartan and Daði. I'm sure. I mean, you've had already one start. You've had starts before, and I'm sure you'll get some more again. So Jakob, congratulations.
Nice, enjoy that one. Go have a drink, celebrate it. Your first star. It's a big achievement. But speaking of listener questions, the listener question this week was whether Kawa and Iya need to change their managers, with the answers being yes, new managers, no, it's a squad problem, and then just Iya or just Kawa. No one thinking just Iya should change their manager, and then it's sort of even split among the others. Maybe they're biased by what we were speaking about last week, how we kind of said we appreciated Iya's take on the whole thing a little bit more than Kawa, or maybe that's just the general feeling. Is it still open?
Maybe by the time this is out, it might be closed. But if you hurry
back in time, you might be able to do it. I'm not sure how I feel about that question. I've been mulling it over, and I really am not so sure.
No,
that'd be my answer.
Yeah, I think Jonþór is the one maybe under most pressure at the moment. The Iya manager.
Mm-hmm.
After he got a red card this weekend as well. This team is they played better against Víkingur, and they will have to have a really great game against Breiðablik if they're gonna come away with anything there. But yeah, he has obviously built up some goodwill after the last season that he had. After the last 2 seasons he's been there. So, but when this is football, it doesn't really mean anything.
No,
I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell with Kawa because Mats Grímur's been under pressure basically since he got there. But then he wins the cup, and then how much goodwill is that? But now they have Europe coming up. What do they want to change now? Does it make sense to start changing stuff now right before Europe? I don't know. It depends. There are some big names in this team. There was some infighting there with Hallgrímur Mar being upset with being left on the bench. So you never know. Maybe they try to push him out before the European campaign gets going.
Time will tell, I guess. If we look ahead at the games coming up, you mentioned it at the top of the episode. I think, right? There's a round of games on Thursday, the 29th. And then there's another round on Sunday and Monday, just immediately following that. So back-to-back games for everybody. And then there's about a 2-week break. So without further ado, the games, should I read out both sets of games or just the first set of games?
Let's be ambitious and see. We can try to come back for a quick thing before Sunday, but yeah.
So turnaround,
yeah. So
on Thursday, all roughly at the same time, but whatever. We have Víkingur, a huge game, the title decider on match day 9. Víkingur, big old game. That'll be interesting. See if Vestri can party with the biggest boys. Then we have Breiðablik Iya. See if Breiðablik can bounce back from their defeat versus FH. Then we have Afturelding Valur, Afturelding at home. Take note. So anything could happen there. We have IBVF FH, the battle of the two teams with the shitty pitches, according to everyone else. Let's see if FH can show up in Vestmannaeyjar and not care. We have Fram Kawa, and we have Stjarnan KR.
Yeah, some good games. Like you said, Vestri, Víkingur, the big one, clearly. And then just a few teams that need to bounce back a little bit. Stjarnan KR, I guess, is the thing where both managers need a win. Because if Stjarnan lose that game, then I think Jökull could also be under some pressure soon.
Yeah. Well, let's KR fans hope for that. But as podcast hosts, let's hope the best teams win. I don't think my vibes last week really did anything which is unfortunate. I don't remember exactly what I said. I did say the Fram were going to win, and they did win, which is not exactly what I was hoping for.
Well, you said Breiðablik we're gonna win, right? Maybe can you cancel that with the FL thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I said. I think I said Stjarnan were going to win against Vestri, which didn't happen, so that worked. I think I said IBVF were going to win against Valur, Valur were going to win against IBVF, hoping that it would be. I don't even know. Guys, go back, listen to it. Something. Either way, I'm not going to try this vibe thing again because I was disappointed in the results, is the take-home message. That's it from us this week, no? And
I think so.
hopefully see you between the rounds.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.